Hey, it's Carrie, and I wanted to go over my third chemo session. My third chemo session was January 18th, 2022, right into the new year. So I got to the hospital and I checked myself in, and I waited about 25 minutes before they called me into the blood draw room. And like these were different nurses than last time. I mean, there's obviously going to be different sets of nurses for each day. So, like, they didn't know right away that I needed to be in my room already set up for me. I asked if there was somewhere I could, like, lay down while I get my blood drawn in that blood draw room, since, like, these were new nurses and they wouldn't know what happened last time. So they're like, oh, we don't really have any place here to lay down. Let's see if we can either see if you already have a room assigned to you, or if we can just like snatch a room real quick where we can get this done and then get you to your room that like if you're later assigned to it. But it ended up that I was already assigned a room, so they went ahead and they put me in that room to get my blood drawn. So I was happy about that I could just sit in a chair that could lay back and I didn't have to do it in the blood draw room, and my mom could be there with me too for emotional support. But one of the nurses, she started doing the blood draw, and like they knew, like, because I was like asking and letting them know ahead that I don't do the best, that I need to lay back. And so she was trying to distract me, and she was talking about how she went to a bridal shower in Austin, Texas, and how like she returned to Ohio and it's like all cold there now. So she was like bummed that she had to go back to cold Ohio after she was just in Austin, Texas, where it's warm. So she was using that to distract me, but like I was still starting to feel yucky despite laying down. And so I let them know, and I think they could tell that I was starting not to feel that great. And so it's just like, I'm glad I'm laying down at least. So there was that. They like moved the chair back a little more, and I was feeling sweaty again, so they got like a cold rag. They gave me ginger ale to drink to probably just like boost up my sugar and like just to help me feel better. And my mom got up, she started fanning me just to get me to feel better. But at least I didn't almost pass out. It was better than last time. I still didn't feel great, but I didn't almost pass out. My eyes didn't roll back in my head, so that's good. And I think I've determined that, like, the reason I freak out, or that I have been, like, freaking out recently, is because, like, I can feel it. It, like, because they put it in my wrist, like here, like that's where a good vein is, so they keep putting it in there. And the nurses told me that that's like a really sensitive spot, so I think that's why I just like, because I can feel it, and like just slight movements, like it hurts. And like I think with the pain, I associate the pain with there's something inside me that's not usually there. Yeah, just with this being like a more sensitive spot, I think it being like a little more painful there, it just gets to me worse than like somewhere else. So I think next time I'm gonna ask if like they're able to like maybe move it like closer to here, because I think because I've had blood draws here and I don't think it hurts as bad here, so like I don't freak out as much. Hopefully I can get it in a different spot, and maybe I'll do better next time. So overall, the blood draw was not fun again, but it wasn't as bad as last time. The whole blood draw ordeal lasted about 25 minutes, and then I waited 20 minutes for the doctor to come in. It wasn't my regular doctor because he only comes in on Mondays, but that Monday, the 17th, was Martin Luther King Day, so it was a holiday, so they scheduled me for Tuesday, the next day. So it wasn't my normal doctor, it was a different doctor, and I guess she works with him, and I mean, she was cool, so I didn't mind. So we just went over just like symptoms and side effects, and like I said, they weren't terrible, and we just went over other things. So that lasted about 15 minutes. And after that doctor appointment was over, I took the urine test, and I think I determined that they do urine tests to make sure you're not pregnant, because I'm sure there's people that lie and say, yeah, there's no way I'm pregnant, and like they totally are. So I'm sure they have to make absolute sure that people aren't pregnant. And they also, I think they're also looking to see if I have like any infection, and to make sure that I don't have any infection. Because I'm guessing that if you do have an infection, you probably can't go through with treatment. So that's another part of the urine test. So I took the urine test, and I think my blood test and the urine test came back normal. So I came out of my doctor appointment, and I went to get my other appointment scheduled. So I went to get my PET scan scheduled because after this third session, that's when I get my PET scan, and then I'll have a fourth session, like whether or not the PET scan comes back good or not. So we were trying to get the PET scan on like a Friday, and then my next session, or my chemo session, like the next Monday. So there'd be like a few days for the results for the PET scan to show up, and then we can go over my PET scan results on Monday, and then go to the infusion. And this particular like schedule person like didn't right away find an exact date. She was just like, okay, we'll call you when we find a date. And like the other times, like we had it scheduled right then and there that day, and then this time they're just like, we'll call you later. So I feel like this person just didn't want to do it. So it's just like, we'll do it later. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they really couldn't find a date right away, but eventually it got scheduled. I did get a call back. My PET scan is February 4th. My next chemo session is February the 7th. So 10 minutes after I got my appointments sort of scheduled, but not really, I was able to go into my infusion room. About 10 minutes after I settled into the infusion room, that's when my PreMed started, which is the Tylenol and the Benadryl and the Akynzeo. And I asked for another ham and cheese sandwich to eat for my prednisone before I took my prednisone. And the nurse this time was like, oh, we don't have cheese. And I was like, huh? I was like, last time there was ham and cheese. And she said, oh, well, I don't know. She just basically said maybe that time we had it, but this time we don't. So, I mean, that was weird, but what am I going to do about it? So, yeah, I had a ham sandwich with no cheese, and that kind of sucked, but whatever, what are you going to do? Beggars can't be choosers. So I took the ham and no cheese sandwich with my prednisone. And during that time, I was flipping through the channels, and Arthur was on, and I was totally gonna watch Arthur. So I relived a little bit of my childhood during my chemo session. That was fun. After Arthur ended, I flipped through the channels again, and then my 600-pound life was on. So I watched that, and it was like the Where Are They Now episode. So this was like people that actually tried. And Benadryl was making me sleepy again. The pre-med session lasted about 35 minutes, and after a 5-minute wait, they started my rituximab treatment. And they like started it like slow dosage again, but then like midway they upped the dosage, because I guess in the beginning they do like the slow drip to make sure you don't have a bad reaction. And but since this was my third session, they went ahead and they sped up the drip rate. So it didn't take nearly as long for this rituximab session, because they did like the rapid drip. I can't remember the exact wording of it, but I'm just gonna call it like the rapid drips. So they did that because they thought my body could handle the like faster drip rate. And once again, it was chilly at the IV site. In the middle of the rituximab treatment, 2 nurses came in to do my lumbar puncture. So I like did the whole spiel again where I like bent over and all that, and Mom was there again to hold my hands. They put in like the lidocaine, and that's like the sharp pinchy pain, and then they do the actual thing. And this time it wasn't as bad as it was last time. I think part of it might be like, I guess it depends on which nurse is doing it. Even like during the session, like I feel like it didn't hurt as much, or like there wasn't as much pressure as she was doing it. So I think part of it might be like it depends on who does it. And I think also this nurse like put it in a different spot, like a little bit higher on my spine. So I think maybe that made it not feel as bad. And I think another reason it didn't seem so bad this time was because the TV was on this time, whereas the other times it was off. So like I could have the TV distract me a little bit. And so I'm holding my mom's hand. She's like, "You're doing good." And it did feel like I was doing a good job a little bit, because I wasn't freaking out as bad. But I still felt like I want this over. Near the end of the lumbar puncture, when she was like injecting the chemo, I started feeling the pressure in my tailbone. And then they were finished, and after they were finished, that's when I had to lay down flat. So like the prep time of the lumbar puncture, doing the lumbar puncture, and then finishing the lumbar puncture, that took about 25 minutes. And right after the lumbar puncture and I was laid down, that's when the rituximab session ended, and that lasted about 1 hour. So that was nice, having it only be 1 hour instead of like 3 hours. About 10 minutes after the rituximab ended, my chemo nurse came in to prep the doxorubicin. The prep was about 5 minutes, and then she actually started the doxorubicin treatment with the syringe. So that was about 10 minutes, and when the doxorubicin session was done, she put in the IV for the vincristine. And the vincristine was like really fast. It was like less than 10 minutes, so that was surprising. So after the vincristine was done, that's when the Cytoxin IV was plugged in. And the IV site was getting cold again, and I was also getting those weird tastes and bursts, but they weren't nearly as bad as they were last time. So that was good. After about 30 minutes, the Cytoxin was done, and so then they flushed me. The flushing lasted about 5 minutes, and then the IV was out, and then I went home. And on the way home again, I had the weird taste coming in and out in bursts like last time, but luckily it goes away after a day. Chemo session number 3 was a lot quicker than the first 2, so I'm thankful for that. Overall, I think it went better than my second session as far as me having my freak out with the blood draw, and like that was better than it was last time. And then the lumbar puncture, I handled that better than last time as well. So chemo session 3 overall, not terrible. Now, side effects. I feel like this third time is a little bit worse than it has been as far as like nausea, and also one of the side effects to chemotherapy is like gastrointestinal issues. And like thinking back, like my first and second chemo sessions, like the first few days I was okay, but then like I got a little bit constipated, like that's a side effect. Eventually those went away, like do I want to say about like maybe 5 to 7 days after chemo is when like the constipation was kind of bad, but it's like I'd take medicine and then I'd not be constipated anymore, and I'd feel better afterwards, so I'd like go back to normal. But this time I feel like the gastrointestinal issues were a little worse. Again, like the first few, after a few days, I felt like constipated and like bloaty. It felt harder this time to get relief, like from medicines and stuff, but eventually I got better, but I felt more bloated this time, I guess, and I think my nausea was a little worse. But really, like I mean, despite the nausea being worse, I've not been like puking my guts out, which is what I've been afraid of. And I've noticed that I'm still working when I can work. Last week I went to work for a few days. I work with lab mice. I take care of lab mice. I do like animal husbandry. I make sure they're fed and that their cages are clean. I change their cages and I do other things, but basically I do like animal husbandry for lab mice. So I went to work, and I think what happened is, well, I went in my rooms to like look, and when you have hundreds of cages in a room, it's gonna stink. So I think the stench of rodent kind of got to me, and so I felt kind of nauseous. I'm thinking that certain smells are starting to like get to me now as far as feeling nauseated. So it's like I go in my room to like look at the mice, make sure no one's dead, no one's hurt, and it just stunk in there. It just stinks in there. So like, I don't know, it gets to me now. I think, like, before, like, I mean, it stinks, but, like, before I got sick, like, I get used to it, like the nose blind thing. But, now, just, it gets to me, so it's like, I can only be in there for a few minutes, and then I have to leave to take a breath, get fresh air in, and then I have to go back in, and then it's like I smell it again. I feel sick again. I've been taking ginger chews to work to try to get through it, but yeah, it's like last week, I could only stand 2 days. Last week I had to leave early, unfortunately, just because it's like I felt nauseous working, and it sucks. Like beforehand, like I could get, like, the days that I did go to work, it's like I could handle the whole day, but now it's harder to handle the whole day. But I'm hoping, just because it was like just a few days after chemo, and also 10 to 14 days after chemo. I haven't mentioned this before, but 10 to 14 days after chemo, your immune system takes a big dip. So those days I take off work because I don't want to take any chances of people getting me sick. And after day 14, your immune system starts to pick back up. So I think it was kind of a combo of, I mean, this was my third chemo session, so it's building up, so I think the side effects are going to be a little worse. So there's a combo of that, and then I was getting close to my low immunity days, so my immunity was probably getting a little bit lower each day anyway before it took a huge dip. So I think that's another combo. And like I said, a few days after chemo, I get gastrointestinal issues. So I think it was just a combo of issues last week that I just felt not as good as I have been. But now I think my this is my last, as of this recording, this is my last day of like my very low immunity, so it should be picking back up, and I'm feeling better. I'm not having as bad gastrointestinal issues. And I just remembered I also had like bad heartburn. Heartburn's like a side effect too. So I think the heartburn stuff was kind of getting to me too, as far as me not feeling that great. But heartburn's gone. My plumbing's getting better. So yeah, I'm getting better. I'm feeling like how I did like after my second chemo session, where it basically felt like I didn't even go through chemo, really. I mean, besides my hair loss, but other than that, I felt good. But I mean, all things considering. So yeah, I'm on the mend right now, so hopefully I can go through a whole day of work tomorrow and the next few days. Now, as of this recording, this Friday is my PET scan. So Friday, I'll be taking my PET scan to see how the chemo is going, if it's working, or if I still have the mass, or we're gonna see whether it's like basically completely gone, if it's shrinking, or if it's still the same size. So the best case scenario is that it's completely or almost gone. I'm praying that when I take my PET scan, nothing glows. We don't want anything glowing in the pelvis region, because that's what was glowing the first time, which I expected because I knew there was a mass there. So hopefully where it was glowing last time, it's not glowing anymore. So I'm praying for that. So that is the best case scenario. Worst case scenario would be like that it's not shrinking. It's the same size as it was, and I guess middle ground would be it's still glowing but not as big a area. So definitely 4th chemo session is happening, but hopefully the PET scan comes out that it's shrinking, it's gone, or nearly gone. And if that's the case, then the 4th one will be my last one. So hopefully 4th one is last, with the 3rd one being a lot quicker than the first 2. Hopefully my 4th and final, we'll hope it's final, is fast. So yeah. If the PET scan comes back as it's still there but shrinking, or if it's not shrinking, then there's definitely going to be a 5th and 6th session, and after 5 and 6 they'll do another PET scan to see if that works. If 5 and 6 turns out that it's gone after that, then I'll be done. But if after 5 and 6 it's still there, then they're gonna have another treatment plan and like radiation in the mix. So like I said, hopefully this PET scan coming up shows that it's gone and that this 4th one will be my last one. So overall, 3rd chemo session, not terrible. We'll get the PET scan done and we'll see if I'll need any more chemo treatments after 4, but best case scenario, this next one will be my last one. Continue to pray for God's healing touch on me. Thank you for the thoughts and prayers that you are giving me now. They're working. I know that my symptoms could be a lot worse than they are, and I know for a lot of people they are worse than what I've been going through. So I'm very thankful to God for getting me through this, because I mean, no one likes being sick. So and that was something I was worried about, was just feeling miserable all the time, but I'm not. So I'm very thankful. And I know that I'm lucky. I know that your prayers are working and that our God is good. If our God is good, I know that this PET scan, if it be in His will, that everything will be fine and nothing glows. Nothing that should be glowing is glowing. Thank you for watching this video and all my other videos. If you enjoy this content and want to follow me through my journey through cancer, you can follow me on Instagram at HeyIt'sSue90, and you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, and be sure to like and comment on my videos. Be sure to share these videos with your friends and family. Spread awareness. I'm wishing for the best, and I hope to see you all later. Bye.